Thank you for watching our video on how to pay your sellers using the Gavel Buddy auction program. In this video, we will go over the basics of paying your auction sellers. We will also cover the different methods of consignment fees that are available in Gavel Buddy to help manage your seller payments. To start, you would enter in your username and password, then click on After Auction, Pay Seller. Alright, so the screen that comes up will ask me for an auction date. In this case, we're going to select September 18th, and then it's also going to ask me for the seller number of the seller that I want to figure up the commission and fees for. So when the screen pops up, it gives us the seller information just as a way to confirm who this person is, how to contact them if we need to. It also gives you their address if you were going to mail them a check. The seller notes field is a field that can actually be figured out when you add or edit a seller. It's just for information purposes only. So for example, let's say this seller likes to pick their check up from your auction house or your business. You could note that here. Or let's say they want to have their check sent to a certain address. You could use the seller notes to just put any information about that seller that you think is something that you would need to be reminded of when you go to pay that seller. It's not required. It's just something you can use if you want to. All right, down here you have your commission steps. For this particular seller, we have anything from 0 to, what is that, $999,000 is going to be 10%. So that's basically saying anything this person sells is going to be 10% commission. And what this is telling me here is that they sold $11.50 worth of commission on $115 sold, and that there was 11 items. So $115 sold, $11.50 was the amount that they're paying you as the auction company, and here's how many items they sold for that amount. Now if I wanted to say do commission steps, let's say anything between $0 and $5 was 25%. Anything above $5 to $25 is 15%, and then anything over $25 is 5%. I would set it up something like this. Alright, so I'll go ahead and click on Update Seller Information. So see, this particular seller actually only sold 11 items, but they all fell within my $0 to $5 range. All right, if they sold something for over $5 and under 20 or 25 and under, then it would be 15% commission. Okay, and so on for $25 and above. Now, notice how when I set up these steps, I have to account for every penny in order for this to work properly. So after the $5 amount at 25%, the next step has to start with 501. All right, and see how 25 ends this step, so it needs to be 2501 to begin the next step. So you can do this however you want to. But like I said, if you earlier, if you have a flat rate, it would just be 0 to 9999999 at whatever percentage, and that would get anything they'd sell at that commission rate. The steps are just there if you want to use them. They're not required. All right, seller fees. You can set up all different. There's different kinds of fee types that you can set up for sellers. In this particular case, we just have an advertising fee set up. And by the way, you do that if you go over here to Setup and you go to Add Edit Auctions. You can set up your seller fee types here. So if I go over here and I look at the auction that I created on the 18th, you can see that I have a seller fee type in there of advertising. Now if I wanted to add another one for storage, let's say, so I went ahead and added that in there, updated it. Now when I go back over here to pay my seller, I went back to After Auction, I went to Pay Seller, and I put that in. You're going to see now I have advertising and storage as my fee type. So you can customize those to whatever you want. All right. The Seller Notes field, this is actually going to show up on the seller invoice, so let them know that maybe you want to let them know of an upcoming auction. You could put that in there in this field, and that'll actually show up on their invoice. So when you give them their payment and their invoice, that'll be on there. That's just kind of a nice, again, it's not a mandatory thing, but it's something you can just use as kind of a courtesy thing to let them know how much you appreciate them, or relay any other messages onto them that you want. All right, down here is the category-based commission. Some auction companies base their commission off of categories. So for example, up here, maybe I don't do it by commission, I do it by the type of item sold. So let's say I sold a firearm. That commission rate is 10% across the board for anything that's assigned a category of firearms. I can enable this by clicking on yes, select the firearms category, and then put the percentage in here. All right, and you can create as many categories as you want. So this actually will override your commission steps. It's not mandatory, it's not required, but if you do category-based commission, this would come in handy for you. All right. Over here in the seller totals field, you've got the total sales, which is $115. You've got the commission, which is $28.75, and this is the amount due. So this is what you would actually pay your seller. You could put check paid if they're using a check, yes, and then put the check number in here just as a reference. And then you click on update seller information, right? Then print totals. Now when I click on the print totals page, it's going to automatically pop up a screen that has all of my information in it. It has the name of the person that sold stuff. It has the different commission steps in there, as well as their items sold and the totals. It also has the category-based commission in here if I were to use that. See, they didn't sell anything in the firearms category, so that doesn't show up. The fees, here's our advertising and storage fees. There's the notes that we put in there. And this gives them a breakdown of the total sales, the commission, fees, amount due, and then down here, I scroll down, it shows all of the items that they actually sold. And you would print that off and hand that to them with their money. All right, so let's go back over here. All right, so now we're back on our seller screen again. Down below here, a couple of important things. You can print the seller invoice here, but you can also do a print check or print check wallet size or print check voucher size. I know a lot of auction companies like to print a check right out of the system. This will allow you to insert your voucher check. You click that button and it will actually print their totals onto the actual check that you can hand them if you want to do that. Again, that's not required. It's just additional functionality you can use if you want to. Down below here, one of the nice features of the selling screen is, let's say we want to change an item from the seller screen. Let's say we accidentally put $2 in here instead of $20. You can literally click on the item. It pops up a screen that allows you to change any information about that item that you want. So I went ahead and changed this to $20. I click on update lot. And as you can see, all my totals across the board have also been changed. I now have an item that fell between $5 and $25 at 15%. It figures that in. All my totals and everything are recalculated immediately once I change it. I can even delete items out of here as well too. So let's say they actually didn't even sell this item, or there was a mistake. I can select it, click on delete lot. It removes it right out of my seller's list of items they sold and updates all their totals. So that basically sums up how to pay a seller. It's extremely easy. Oh, there's one other thing you can do too. You can actually print all your sellers' totals. So if you go to after auction, print all seller totals, this will actually pop up, allow you to select the auction, and it will give you a list, all of your sellers that sold stuff at your auction. We'll give you all of that, all of them in one area. You click on print and it'll literally print them all, send them all to your printer at the same time. So you don't even have to print them individually. It'll print them all at the end of the auction automatically for you. One other thing we needed to go over too was seller templates. So if I click on Setup and I go over to Add Edit Seller Templates, all of that stuff we just did can be automated. So when we were over on the seller screen and we were putting in the commission and the categories and base commission and all that information, you can set up a template that does all of that for you. So for example, I can go in here and add a seller template and call it 25% commission. Okay. I can put in my advertising fee, storage fee. I can make a note in here and then set up my commission rates down here. So let's say $5 is percent. 501 to, we're just going to simplify this, so I'm just going to put that in there as 10%. All right, and then so on. The category-based commission, we can add all of that stuff. We can also do buybacks if you have sellers that buy their stuff back and you want that automatically subtracted from their totals. There's that ability. We're not going to go over that in this video though, but if you want to use that functionality, there is that capability for Gavel Buddy to actually subtract things that sellers bought from their totals. Okay, so then I click on Add Template. Now if I go over here to my Edit Seller Templates tab, here's the commission I just, or the template that I just created. All right, and I can make changes to it by opening it here. I can delete it, update it, do all these things from within this window. Now that I've created my template, if I go over here to Setup and I go to Add Edit Sellers, I can actually add a seller and then assign them that template that we created right down here on the bottom. Now, every time that seller sells something, that template will apply all those commission rates to that seller. So what I showed you at the beginning of the video, where you had to go in and put all of those totals in manually, this will now automatically be done if they're assigned this template. It's really handy and it's really slick. It helps speed things up tremendously. One other thing that I wanted to point out too with this is the templates have to be assigned to your sellers prior to an auction starting. So if you assign this template to a seller after you've already auctioned their stuff for that auction, that template won't be applied. It will be applied to the next auction. So you just have to make sure that the template is assigned to the seller prior to adding any items for that seller to an upcoming auction. And the reason for that being is if a seller was selling something at previous auctions and their commission changed, you don't want that template you just assigned them to apply to previous auctions. You only want it to apply to everything going forward. So that's why it's set up that way. So again, thank you for watching our videos. Please get a hold of us if you have any questions. You can call us, you can email us if you go to www.gavelbuddy.com. All that information's there on how to contact us. We'd love to talk with you about your auction business and see if there's something we can do to help you out.